Oh, hi. Good evening, I'm Filmfandan, and this is the review of Creed 2. So, Creed 2. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, this was obviously the sequel to Creed 1, or the 8th in the Rocky franchise, which began way back in 1976. Now, I've got to be honest, I love the Rocky franchise. Those that know me best will tell you that I'm one of the biggest fans and live my life by the Rocky mentality, which is to say that you never know, you're never beaten until you're beaten. But I went into this film wanting to love it, and I came out, and if I'm totally honest, I bloody loved it. I didn't just bloody love it, I really bloody loved it. And dare I say it, I think this was actually one of the finest entrances into the Rocky franchise. So a lot to talk about, so bear with me. So this was directed, moved on from Ryan Coogler, who did the first Creed, and Stephen Caple Jr. came along to direct this one, starring the great Sylvester Stallone as Rocky Balboa, and Michael B. Jordan as Apollo Creed's son Adonis. And we see Dolph Lundgren return to the role for the first time in 33 years since 1985's Rocky IV. And the story is ultimately that Adonis, now Apollo's son, has become heavyweight champion of the world. Drago and his son are still suffering from Drago's defeat 30 years ago, whereby he's been ostracized by Russian society, lives a lonely existence with his son. His wife, Bridget Nielsen, has left him. He's got no support from the Russian society whatsoever, and he's an outcast essentially, seeking redemption and seeking that, one last hurrah, I guess, that we saw Rocky have in Rocky Balboa, the 6th installment. So, contrasting situations of our primary characters here. Adonis is at the top, and and his son Victor very much at the bottom. Ultimately, what happens is we get into a situation where they need to fight each other. And the rest is history, and we see a wonderful, wonderful training montage and some of the best fight scenes that have ever been filmed, not just in the Rocky franchise, but in my view, in boxing film history, to the extent that I've never seen an audience be so engaged and so involved in a film whereby they're literally applauding and, really, seeing ducking and diving every single punch. It was just phenomenal. It was like being at a live boxing match. We've got Wilder against Tyson Fury tomorrow, and I'll tell you, I'd watch Drago against Creed any day. Better than that, anyway. So, in terms of the story, it's not just about the fight, though. There's so much more behind this, and it's more about heart, commitment, family, resolution, fathers, and the sins of our fathers is obviously a very big theme throughout the entire film. And the character arcs in particular for me was something quite special, because when you watch a boxing movie, a lot of them these days have got phenomenal fight choreography, amazing special effects, but what makes these films stand out in particular is that you are in the ring with them and you care about these characters, and that's something that you don't get necessarily from all of these new boxing movies. I think Southpaw recently with Jake Gyllenhaal was good, and the fight scenes were incredible, but I didn't have that same care and emotion that I do for these characters. And obviously, we're drawing on 42 years of film history here with Rocky, so there's a lot of investment with these guys, and it really helped and showed and was demonstrated throughout the film. So there's a number of character arcs which take place throughout the film. So first of all, there's Rocky, who again is quite a tragic character, really. He's incredibly lonely. He's lost his wife. Paulie, his best friend, for the first 5 Rocky movies, is no longer in the frame. And really, the only person in his life is Adonis Creed. And he seems to have a strained relationship with his son. If you remember Milo something, the guy who was Peter Petrelli in Heroes, and now the dad who died in This Is Us. And he hasn't spoken to him in a number of years. And we don't find out why that is, but it is resolved beautifully towards the end. Drago, again, like I mentioned earlier, he's got a hell of a character arc whereby he's seeking redemption, seeking some sort of recognition through his son. And again, it's just resolved beautifully at the end, whereby you see the relationship between Drago and his son finally come into a beautiful climax whereby I don't want to give that away, but just lovely. Now, one of the things that I enjoyed most about this movie as a Rocky fan were the several nods to the Rocky films of the past. So I recall one line where Adonis is going to propose to his girlfriend B, or Tessa Thompson, and he asks Rocky how he proposed. And those of you that remember Rocky 2 will know how he said, "Hey, yo, Adrian, I wondered if you wouldn't mind marrying me too much." And he says it in Creed 2, and it's just a lovely throwback to that moment. We've also got the references to Rocky 4, obviously through Ivan Drago, but best of all for me was in the reference to Rocky Balboa and Rocky's son, the chap. Oh, I can't remember his name. Milo something, the guy who's in Heroes, and he turns up in the film as well, which is just such a lovely touch. And let me tell you this: you won't leave, if you're a Rocky fan, you won't leave that cinema without crying your eyes out at the end. It was a beautiful, beautiful ending and a lovely resolution to Rocky's character arc. And if he does throw in the towel, like he's suggested, that this will be his last acting performance as Rocky, you know, I'm very sad about that, but my God, what a way to leave it. It really did give us closure to the character. And that was just wonderful. And in terms of the storyline, just another reference to another Rocky movie, this essentially tells a very, very similar story to Rocky 3, whereby we've got a fight that the main character loses, there's a rematch, a new trainer is involved. So, like I say, several nods to the Rocky movies of the past. Now, my reaction to this movie was that it was just so full of heart and guts and emotion and action that it was just impossible to not enjoy. And I say that because I went with two people that weren't necessarily the biggest fans of the franchise, one being my wife, one being my brother-in-law. They were familiar with the franchise, they enjoyed it, but by no means had the same passion and the same dedication to the character and the franchise that I do. And they came out and just thoroughly enjoyed it because you were so invested in it. The film came out 2 hours and 10 minutes, and there was not one moment where I felt that this was too long. And that's quite a long movie, 2 hours and 10. And I didn't want it to end. I really didn't, because it was just so fast-paced, and the fights, I can't even tell you how good these fight scenes were. And what makes these fight scenes brilliant is that you care about the characters so much. When one shot hits somebody in the face, you feel that punch. You're in the ring with that guy, and it makes it so bloody emotive and so powerful, so wonderful. You obviously got the fantastic training montages that are staple to any Rocky movie. You've got the fantastic boxing matches, you've got the heart, you've got the guts. I don't want to bang on because I'm conscious that I keep my reviews too long at the moment, so let me just say that this for me was a genuine 9.5 out of 10. The best boxing movie I have ever seen, the best entrance into the Rocky franchise, and I would just implore anybody to go and watch this movie at the cinema. Sit back, buy yourself a popcorn, get yourself a Coke or a beer, whatever tickles your fancy. Sit back and enjoy a movie that is shameless and just relies on amazing character development, fantastic boxing choreography, and a heart-wrenching story that spans across 42 years. You will not regret it. That's me signing out. Filmfandan loves Creed 2. Thank you very much.